Hello, today we're going to be talking about operating systems and software. This presentation was created by Hunter Nannon, Arletta Eads, Ethan Dorsey, and me, Emily Ecker. So here's our table of contents. We have operating system software. We're going to start with Mac OS, and we've got a few different slides on what has to do with the Mac OS, slides 3 through 7. If you click on any of these links, it will take you directly to the slide that we're talking about. And then we have Microsoft software, Windows setup, Windows troubleshooting, and helpful Windows application. So let's get started. So Mac OS. Mac OS is known as Macintosh operating system. It is the operating system inside of every Mac that is created by Apple. Mac comes with its own apps and is paired with iCloud to keep photos, documents, and other things updated. They're advertised to have been built around privacy and security while remaining simple and easy to use for the best experience. The apps inside of Mac are native apps, which means they are created for the Mac and they come from the Mac, so they're not being foreignly downloaded off of anything. So instead of it being web browser based, like using Internet Explorer or Firefox, it makes the native apps perfect for the Mac and allow for faster performance and more robust features, like greater features. And so next we have Mac OS cost versus use. So the thing about Macs are they tend to be extremely expensive. You can sometimes get one on the cheap end, like 500, more than 500 bucks probably, even if it's like refurbished or renewed. Is the Mac computer worth the cost? I mean, it really depends on what you need to use it for. MacBooks are commonly used in college. They're very good for video and photo editing, especially if you're making like home movie stuff like that. Developing Apple software is also very good, and they use that through like Xcode. And I'm sure there's many more things that we could talk about, but we need to move on. So next we have prices of a Mac can vary widely. Around, over 660 on Amazon for a renewed MacBook Air, which isn't even top of the line MacBook like the Pro. And they go all the way up to around 2,300 or 2,399 on the picture for a new MacBook Pro. But yes, refurbished seems to be the best cost-effective way to purchase a MacBook if you really need one, or maybe you've never had one and you kind of want to test it out. Uses of a Mac can be exclusive and great. This includes things like Xcode, which is considerably the best software you can use to make apps for any iOS, Apple iOS things. You can get Hackintoshes for Windows, but those generally are, harder to use, and we'll actually talk about that later on. Some uses, or the uses can also be limited since most software necessary for the application development outside of Mac OS, like Oracle and Office 360, like Excel, Access, Microsoft Project, all of those things are not compatible. So it can be very difficult to work with things that are not directly involved with Apple if you don't have Windows. Don't get me wrong, Mac does have their own version of some of these things, but they're not usually universal, like, Windows. Anyone can download a spreadsheet from Office on any Windows computer if you have Windows and you use Microsoft, but you obviously couldn't cross use that on a MacBook. So Hackintosh, what I was just talking about, these like Apple symbol with like computer pieces. Hackintosh is defined as a non-Apple computer that runs on Apple Macintosh operating system, and it's running on hardware that's not authorized by Apple for the purpose by Apple. The use of Hackintoshes are usually illegal, if not always illegal. This is a common practice for people who have Windows operating systems so they can have access to the Mac exclusive software, which, would be some of their developing software and some of the other things that I'm sure people want to use. Maybe their built-in movie editor or something like that. These can also be very difficult to get running and maintaining because they're not meant to run that way. So you need to be really careful and probably know a decent amount about Hackintoshes. Not recommended. So Mac OS tips and tricks. If you have an Apple Watch, you can use it to unlock your Mac. You can activate Do Not Disturb DND on your Mac in those options, or in the options, sorry. Holding the shift key while resizing a window will keep the proportions constant. Command shift and period can be used to show or hide invisible files in a folder. To fix a messy desktop, you right click and select stack. And the Mac will automatically organize everything. So you don't even have to worry about putting things into like fancy folders or anything like that because they'll do it themselves. You can swap between apps by clicking Command and Tab and cycling through open apps. Pressing Control and left arrow or right arrow allows you to swap between multiple desktops if you have them. And then we have a link here to some more helpful tips and tricks, so you can always click that to see kind of where these came from and some more on top of that. So Mac OS virus protection. So Macs are a little different than regular computers. You don't have to download and continue to pay for your own antivirus of any antiviruses. Like, there's like Norton and there was a couple other ones, but I don't remember. So they have their own built-in antivirus, and it's called XProtect, which is their Apple's basic malware detection service that compares suspicious files to the XProtect malware definition records, which those come from, I think it was called Yara or Yaru, which is based off of Google's kind of rules. XProtect is linked to the iPad and iPhones on malware software called Gatekeeper. So it's not exactly the same thing as Gatekeeper, but they are kind of intertwined. XProtect after 12 months needs to be re-registered, but it is at no cost to continue its usage. So as long as you make sure to re-register it. And then here on the photo, we have an example of XProtect doing his job, trying to download something, or maybe it noticed something, and it's reporting it to Apple to protect other users so they're aware of the problem, and then it automatically discards it. So Microsoft Windows, this is probably the better known operating system among most people, especially people in the business world. It's the most common operating system in today's business world. There are important parts of Windows that the average user does not normally know, but can improve the overall experience dramatically. So kind of like the tips and tricks from Mac, but now we're going to do it for Windows. These are in 3 categories. It's going to go a little bit more in depth. We have 1, which is setup configuration, 2, which is troubleshooting, 3 is helpful applications. So Windows setup, bloatware. Computer manufacturers include unnecessary software pre-downloaded onto your system. Some of the things that I can name off the top of my head that would apply to this would be, I don't know if you guys have ever had the problem with Skype, like you don't remember downloading it, but it's just there. These applications rarely give any benefit. I mean, it also comes with other stuff, but Skype is the one that I always have to like try to delete, and then it doesn't delete. They can slow your computer, especially if it's loading as soon as you open the computer. So like, I think they're called startup programs, but you can disable this. So it takes up system resources like RAM and storage. So those are always not fun, and you should try to get rid of them. Some other common bloatware is Candy Crush, CC Cleaner, any news applications, and various antivirus software that they're really pushing you to use. For the Windows setup, how to get rid of bloatware, we've got this beautiful graphic right here taken by Hunter Nannen from his own computer. Uninstalling applications, a lot of times I think people struggle to do this because they're not sure how or where the like buttons are. I've had this issue before also. When you use Windows, you add or remove program tools. you use the Windows Add or Remove Program tool. Sorry about that. Click on the Windows icon or press the Windows key and X on your keyboard. Select Settings and then select Apps. You should be placed on the Apps and Features tab. So on the right side of the screen in the photo, you see Apps and Features right here at the top. I don't know if you can see my mouse. And then you can scroll through all the applications installed on your computer, or you can click this little search this list and sort by name, just type in the name of whatever it is you want to delete. Once you're there, look for the application you do not recognize or did not install yourself if you're trying to get rid of the bloatware and not just whatever software you've decided. Then you click on the desired application to remove and click uninstall, which is highlighted by this little red circle and arrow. So Windows setup, we also have privacy, which seems to be a big problem with operation systems. A lot of data and like personal information gets leaked out. Windows by default does collect your personal information and what you do on your computer, but fortunately you can disable this and it's fairly easy and straightforward. So you're going to click the Windows icon or press the Windows key plus X on your keyboard. Select Settings and then select Privacy. Once you're there, you will go through each tab shown reading each permission. I know a lot of people just don't usually read that, but if you're doing it for this purpose, you can turn off any permission you don't want by clicking the on-off toggle. So, be sure to read it if you're trying to edit your privacy settings. Examples of permission to turn off would be letting apps use your advertising ID and letting websites track your location, which I think that has to do with cookies, and that's usually not something people want. So now we have Windows troubleshooting. On this section, we're going to talk about Task Manager, which is very important, and I had no clue how to use it when I first got my new computer. It has problem diagnostics, forcefully close applications. To access, press Control, Shift, and Escape. Task Manager also has a tab at the top that says Startup Programs, and that is where you would disable any programs that are starting at the beginning, like Skype, that you don't want to keep running. So how to use it? When you first launch it, it will only show what current applications are running. But there are, like I said, various tabs at the very top. Use to shut down app and all its processes. Select the desired app and select End Task at the bottom of the screen. For further information, click the drop-down arrow labeled More Details, and this will show usage percentage by task, and you can end specific application tasks. Here's an example of the Windows Troubleshooting Basic Task Manager and then the Full Detail Task Manager. This is where you see Performance App History Startup was what I was talking about for pesky apps like Skype and Candy Crush or something like that. So here we are, you can see CPU usage, the memory percent, disk percent. So next we have Windows Troubleshooting Startup Configuration. So the Task Manager can also help you with slow computer startup. Oh, here it is. I jumped ahead, sorry. Having a lot of apps launch when your computer starts can cause long boot times. To configure startup, launch Task Manager in a more detailed view. Select the Startup tab at the top right here. And then here you will view the apps that have a high startup impact, and right click on the desired app and then select Disable so that it does not open when you start it anymore. And here we've got Disable highlighted with a little red circle and an arrow. So for Windows troubleshooting, we also have updates. Provides current vulnerability protections, keeps all applications working properly, and provides new features required by applications. The basic issues can be fixed with updating. Compatibility issues, slow internet performance due to out-of-date drivers. These are all very simple. You just update it with the latest Windows, and it usually will advertise it to you too. If there's a new one out, it'll ask you if you want to update. Privacy and bloatware. After each update, check your privacy settings and bloatware because it's common for them to reset and reinstall after the update. Super annoying, but we can't do anything about it. So, how to update Windows. Click on the Windows icon or press the Windows key and X on your keyboard. Select Settings, then select Update, and security. Select check for updates. If an update is available, click install. And like I said, sometimes it'll prompt you to do it, but sometimes, you know, if you exit out and it hasn't prompted you again, this is a perfect way for you to go back and do it if you didn't have time before. So, helpful Windows applications. On here, we've got file viewers, software that allows the viewing of file formats not natively supported by Windows. So, something that might not come with Windows or be created by Windows. This can compress or extract files, and common types are .rar or .rar and .zip, for example. WinRAR is a free software that can be used to open common compressed files, and it has a trial period. After trial, will ask you for payment, but it still works without a license. So here's a link you can use to download RAR Lab, and it's recommended that you use the 64-bit version, which is the current. Then we have 7-Zip. It's an open source and it's truly free. Here's the download link also. And let me wait for this. And then you need to download 64-bit again because these are the newest and the current versions. So this was our presentation on operating systems and software, and we really hope you enjoyed the presentation. The end. Thank you.